Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
In this week's episode of the Kindness Project, we talk about psychics, predictions, and we have part 2 of our interview with Emmanuel Asuquo.
Welcome one and all to another episode of the Kindness Project. I'm joined by two blokes who are sitting in their own houses. Gentlemen, do you think your houses are haunted?
Definitely not with mine. I mean, they're haunted by you. Because they're like, oh, no, there's a ghost. There's a ghost. Our one's haunted by an 11-year-old called Sophie. Is your house haunted, Raz?
No, this was a new build when I moved in, so...
Yeah, but there's a topless bloke that keeps on wandering around it, isn't there?
Well, the neighbours keep saying that, but I've never seen him myself.
I'm the most unsubstantial man, as you know, Charlotte, who ever roamed this earth. So why would I ever believe in ghosts?
But I have a funny story about ghosts.
Well, and tell us that story about ghosts.
So, when our mum was alive, she used to like seeing psychics.
She did.
She said to me, come round one day, I'll get you a reading. We sat down, me and Kelly sat down with a woman in Mummy's living room, and she said, there's somebody standing at the bottom of your bed. It's your nan, Kelly. And, yeah, it was quite a weird experience. Now, I keep saying to Kelly, I won't sleep in there because your nan keeps watching me.
What, number one, what a load of old nonsense. Number two, using the excuse of Kelly's nan is not...
Charlotte clearly seen the funny side.
No.
It's funny.
Well, what's her nan's name?
I don't know.
You'd think you'd be well acquainted, seeing as she's been standing at the end of your bed for when. But yeah, I'm a science guy, so for me, psychics and superstition and like believe in what you believe, and I completely understand how for a lot of people that element of their lives gives them comfort and stuff like that, but it's never floated my boat. Are you a superstitious person, Charlotte? I should know this, shouldn't I?
I don't. Honestly, I'm of the opinion that until it impacts my life,
Yeah.
I don't need to form an opinion about it one way or another.
Yeah. Have you ever had an old lady stand at the edge of the bed like Russ?
Well, when I was younger,
Don't say mum's an old lady, that's rude.
but no, when I was younger, my bed the head of my bed used to be directly where the door to my room was.
Yeah.
And Mum used to pile the washing out there.
Yes.
And on certain nights, I'd look out there and I think the washing was a person coming to get me.
You know what? You're not alone with that. I think the brain creates images in our own minds, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
like-
So the amount of times you see a coat hanging up or a shirt and you go,
Yeah.
that doesn't look like a coat or a shirt.
I've had that experience.
Yeah, that used
Tell
to
us
be
about it,
like,
Russ. Go on.
Sometimes
Was it somebody's nan?
no, it wasn't somebody's nan this.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes when I walk around the house late at night,
Naked?
no, not naked.
just topless. Not
Just
completely
topless.
naked.
I don't know why I bother with this podcast.
Go on.
Sometimes when I walk around the house late at night,
Kelly's nan follows you.
or I'm laying in bed, the cats sometimes give me a fright.
Do they?
But they're quite stealthy. They're quite light on their feet. When you come out, like my room's over in the corner, as you come out there, they lay in the hallway there.
Yeah.
And sometimes they scatter when I'm
noise.
walking out there. And when you're tired, your mind just
Yeah, it does. That timeless always plays a part in that, definitely. I remember you telling me a story about psychic trust that was quite amusing. And again, if you believe, this isn't decrying those beliefs, but because I don't believe the story that Raz told me was I found quite funny. Raz told me, and this again, this was when Mum was alive, and she
Yeah.
did believe. Um, uh, I think she persuaded you at a point when you were a little bit overweight.
If this is
And
about the tumble dryer, that was a psychic church we went to. She convinced me to go to a psychic church.
what's the tumble dryer?
So we went to a psychic church, and they told me that my tumble dryer, the plug was going to blow and catch fire. And about 3 weeks later, Kelly noticed that the fuse had blown in the tumble dryer. It didn't
But
catch
it didn't catch fire, did it,
It
Russ?
didn't catch fire or anything.
Right. So as you two know, I'm a bit of a fan of Darren Brown. And Darren Brown debunks a lot of the predictions that psychics make. Do you believe, Russ? Genuinely?
No.
You don't. You don't. But I remember once years ago being in Mum's flat and you talking about an experience with the psychic, and I remember you saying, I walked into the psychic's room, and halfway through, she told me I had bad legs and feet. And I looked at you and went, Russ, you are about 10 stone overweight.
I remember it.
As a guess, it's not a bad pun, is it? To go, you've got legs and feet issues.
I think that's what it boils down to, though. It's reading,
Cold reading, isn't it?
reading somebody's behaviour and then assessing that and making an assumption.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that it's an art in itself, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? That element of, you know what I don't like about it, and I don't know how you guys feel. If it gives somebody comfort, great, but I don't like the dishonesty that it feels like. I don't know. Where do you guys feel?
I don't know if it's dishonesty in general. There are elements of that, but in general, I think people find comfort in it, and that's their own business.
Yeah. I don't know. How about you?
I think there are some people who practice it that believe in it, and like you can't really call someone's beliefs, if they were sharing their own beliefs, dishonest.
Yeah, no, I see that, and I'm absolutely with that. I mean, it's just a matter of, I don't know. I mean, are there charlatans that don't believe that? I don't know.
That was what I was going to say to you. You could say that about any kind of industry. There's good and there's bad in all industries.
Yeah, potentially. Are we calling psychics a bona fide industry now, though?
Oh, it is an industry if you make money from doing it, isn't it?
I don't know. Listeners, what do you think? Do you think what are your thoughts on spiritualism and all of that sort of stuff? And where do you stand on whether on psychics and whether you believe it or not? What do you think of it? We'd love to hear your thoughts. As you can tell, we are wrapping ourselves into complete knot to try to discuss this issue, of which we have very little knowledge, apart from the absolute twaddle that was told to Russell his visit. So, I mean, Russ, actually, and bizarrely, you are our psychic expert because you've seen more psychics than us.
Well,
but you're a non-psychic expert because you don't pretend you're psychic.
I could be psychic. I don't know. I sometimes get a little voice in the back of my head.
Give us a prediction. Give us a psychic prediction.
I reckon, no word of a lie, that Argentina's going to win the World Cup this year. Last year.
I don't think that's how predictions work, Russ. I don't think retrospective predictions are going to work that well. Let me give you a prediction. All the way through this podcast, Charlotte's going to wear her hat.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I reckon that's happening.
I reckon that is.
You know what? I might take it off just to prove you wrong.
I knew you were going to say that. I shouldn't have. You know what I should have done? I should have written the
I
prediction
know you
down.
would do, Charlotte, mate.
Right. Next, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Right, during the next edition of the Kindness Project, we will write down at the start of the recording. We'll all write down a prediction. I'll do Charlotte. Charlotte does Russ's, and Russ does mine. And we'll see how true it is. How about that?
All right, that's a deal.
What do you mean, no?
No.
Join in the game, have a bit of fun.
That's a done deal. I like that one.
What am I going to predict about you? You're going to get disrupted by the dog. Like,
Do what you want. Do what you want. Or would you rather do Russ? I'll do you. You do Russ. Russ does me.
I'll make a prediction. Russ has probably got more than 2 mugs behind him.
I haven't one.
Oh,
damn.
Charlatan. Oh, let me make a prediction about Russ. Russ has got more than one ninja product in his kitchen.
We all know that's the truth, though. We all know that's the truth.
Oh, anyway, let's move on with the show, and I'll start with the first piece of
Kindness news.
Oh no! Before we do kindness news, you have to do that jingle again because I want to talk about what we've got going on. Bear in mind that we have now established a date, and we are really excited, and we're selling a bunch of tickets for the Kindness Project belated book launch. I mean, like no other book can have a book launch 3 months after it came out, but we're having one in February. What's the date, Russ?
16.
February the 16th. I mean, I know we've got a global audience, and if you're in Guatemala listening at the minute, you might not want to come to Hornchurch to help us celebrate the book launch. But if you are in the southeast and you'd like to come along and join us, we've got plenty of people coming. Drinks and 100%. If you buy the book as part of the package, 100% of the money we get from the proceeds of the book goes to the charities. And Francis Arspice, who is a regular podcast guest, amazing charities. So we're hopefully going to raise loads of money on the night. And see how we go. So limited tickets are left, and we'll put a link in the show notes. So that if you would like to come along, you're more than welcome.
What day is it?
It's a Thursday.
Right.
Thursday evening.
Thursday evening. So yeah, come along, join us, help us raise some money and celebrate the launch of the book. And we would love to see you there. If you are celebrating in another country, send us a photo of you celebrating with your copy of the Kindness Project book. I'm being told it's selling okay. I spoke to somebody yesterday who bought a copy for her, all of the people in her business, and a few of her mates. She bought 15 copies. So it seems to be selling all right. People are reading it. And we also got an email saying, Chris, I read the book over Christmas, and the story you tell about Gibraltar was both the most amusing and the most toe-curling story I've heard in a while. So I aim to please.
I need to get myself a copy so I can celebrate. Because I'm
well,
not
as a
going to be able
contributor,
to.
yeah.
So I'm not going to be able to come down and celebrate with you guys.
Well, you need to jump on Zoom and wave a copy of your book, don't you?
Need to get one first.
Yeah, do that. Well, what we might do, we're having videos of past contributors of the podcast playing while we're at the book launch. So we would be remiss if we didn't interview you, Charlotte, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
So you'll need to be Alison, who's running it for us. Will need to be. Will need to
I'll
interview
send you
Charlotte
the
as well.
calendar. I'll send you the calendar link, Charlotte.
All right.
Yeah, perfect. So that's that. Come on to the book launch, buy the book, do all that sort of good stuff. Charlotte's got some stuff to promote.
Yes. So starting next Monday, Mug of the Week is going to be back
Hey,
Um,
Mug of the Week's back.
for at least 5 weeks because that's how many mugs I brought back with me.
Can you give us a sneaky peek of the mugs on offer?
No, because I put them in a high cupboard to keep them safe.
She's protecting her mugs.
How are you going to get them down to
Jump.
take the
She's going to
picture?
jump.
What, you want me to stand up now, go to my high cupboard? I'll do it.
Oh, no, not halfway through a podcast recording.
That's
Save for the
random,
next
innit?
edition.
That's exactly what I
Guys, don't walk off and get a mug halfway through recording a podcast. We're meant to be professionals.
thought. That's what I thought, but like Russ was like,
Don't let Russ go.
Egging me
He's the
on.
worst psychic ever.
Russ was egging me on, so I was like, right, let me go and get it.
Russ, can you stop egging Charlotte on?
I deny there's any plausibility on that.
You deny any plausibility?
Yeah,
Interesting.
it just never happened.
Fake news. Fake news, Charlotte. Fake news. Right, anyway. Mug of the Week is back for 5 weeks and we need more mugs so that you can
Yes.
continue.
Yeah.
And then what else is happening?
My articles are still going up every Thursday.
What are you writing about this week?
You know what? It's we're recording this on a Wednesday. I haven't decided yet. But also, yeah, I don't really plan them that far ahead. I just sort of like stick my ear to the ground and then write it.
Well, I would love for you to write an article on fake psychics this week to go with
Maybe not fake psychics. History's most prolific psychics, maybe.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Let me
Yeah,
write that down.
perfect.
Let me write that down. I have a notebook right here. It's shiny.
Yeah. So she's just writing down her writing notes halfway through recording the podcast, right? Shall I?
It'd have to be Mystic Meg, wouldn't it? She used to do the lotto.
Was Mystic Meg real?
Mystic Meg was real.
Or was she
Oh,
just
Mystic Meg was like Jesus, real, but were her powers real?
were her powers real,
I'm
Russ?
sure I'm not. We can't slander her on the podcast. You know that, don't you?
No, I'm not slandering her. I'm just asking the question. Did you hear about that psychic fridge though that was in the news quite a long
No.
time ago? Russ, did you hear about that?
No. But
Mystic Smeg.
I remember the
Come
psychic.
on! But Charlotte, that deserves a laugh, doesn't it? Mystic
I didn't understand
Smeg.
it, so
Meg is a brand of fridge.
sorry. I'm
Cassie, hold
too
on. Let
young
me
to understand a joke about appliances.
Let me get the referee's opinion. Casey, Mystic Smeg as a pun. No. Apparently
Well-
only you and me, Russ.
I don't know who Mystic Meg is.
Do you remember the psychic octopus though that used to pick the results of the football?
Hit the football results, yeah.
South African World Cup.
True. Yeah. I can't think of a squid-related psychic pun right now, but I'm sure give me a chance, I will. Let's move on now. You've promoted your article and Mug of the Week to.
The snow.
I'm going to do, if I do the first article, Charlotte, you can do the second.
Okay.
Leading the way in respect and kindness, East Devon School celebrates becoming the first in the country to stoop a gold UNICEF award. Pupils at the secondary school in East Devon celebrate becoming the first in the country to scoop a gold UNICEF award for leading the way in respect and kindness. Christ Vale Community College
Dad.
in Broadcliffe, East Devon, was recently presented with the UNICEF Rights Respecting Schools Award, an accolade for educational establishments that show commitment to promoting and realising children's rights. encouraging adults and young people to respect others in the learning community. Slist Community College has been named the first secondary school in Devon and Cornwall to achieve the award, and more than 600 schools have received gold. What do we think about teaching kindness in schools? What do we think about that?
I mean,
I think that it should be a fundamental part of education.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? There's a big debate at the minute about what we should teach in schools. I know that Mr. Sunak is focused on his maths campaign, and I don't know whether maths would be the subject I'd choose. Financial literacy, I'd definitely choose.
Yeah.
But actually, can we, like, in a world where we can get every fact at our fingertips, should we be looking at our behaviours, teaching kids about behaviours, about how to be potentially better humans? What do you guys think? And how do we do that?
I think that building character is an important part of education.
Yeah.
It should be focused on more than some of the other areas they do now.
And when you say building character, Russ, what character are you talking about?
In terms of emotional well-being.
Yeah.
In terms of how you interact with others. I wish I had learned that sort of stuff at school.
Yeah, interesting. How about you, Charlotte? What do you think?
I definitely think it's important for that kind of stuff because a lot of education sort of teaches for, like, here's how to do this, here's how to do this, here's how to sort of. It focuses on a lot of academic when a majority of people don't continue on into academics.
I think Sorry, go on.
No, it's fine.
I think
What were you gonna say?
with education, it sort of stood still.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? The amount of times I've had this conversation recently, and it keeps on sort of coming back round. We have still, I believe, and again, I'd be interested to know what our listeners think. But I believe that we have still got an industrial style education system designed to create workers and not create well-rounded human beings who can thrive and survive in a modern economy. But I don't know what we do about that.
I think it's moving a bit more away from that now to like STEM education where it's technology based.
Yeah, but then I suppose the interesting thing for me, Russ, is how important is it on when we're talking about this stuff to teach kids about how to communicate and how to help others and how to be part of how to be a good contributor to society in a kind way. I don't know. It's interesting.
I wish I had learned all that stuff at school.
Yeah. As opposed to that psychic class you went to when you were 12. It's not really paying off, is it? Dr. Kevin Bourne, the principal at Slist Community College, said the school was absolutely delighted with the award, praising the staff, students and teachers, Sarah Watt, who had coordinated the project for 5 years. The Gold Award is a validation of Slist distinctive ethos and values. In so doing, we are reducing prejudice and making the school a safer place. The world is not in a good way right now, so it's important than ever to teach young people about kindness, tolerance and respecting difference. I absolutely love that. Charlotte, have you got an article you want to share?
I do. Sorry, I was just reading along with the one you were reading. I like this. Cancer fighting mum to make kindness boxes to help others. A veterinary nurse who is battling breast cancer is looking to help others by creating kindness boxes for the Lilac Centre. Rachel Pillington Parr, a locum veterinarian locum veterinary nurse and a one-on-one wellness coach, describes herself as seeing the positives in everything. However, in August, after finding a lump in her right breast, the 34-year-old was diagnosed with grade 3 breast cancer. Despite this, Rachel, who is mum of two-year-old Megan, said after starting treatment, she found a way to help others, to help herself through the tough days, and in turn wants to use that idea to help others. I'm thankful the cyst was found and that the cancer was underneath it, so that the cyst allowed the cancer to be caught early. Not everyone is so lucky. I'm in a career where there is a high suicide rate among people in the profession due to the pressure staff are under, and I've started a positive coaching course to try and give them tools to support themselves.
So can I share something that might be useful? I had a conversation today because now I've published the Kindness Project book. I'm working on the next one. And the next one is going to be all about helping people when they've reached, it's more work related, but helping people at a stage of their lives where they're thinking about what's next to navigate that change. And what I asked for is just feedback on how to sort of navigate change if you've been through it, and a lot of my clients have. So a few reached out and said, "Look, I'm happy to help." So I interviewed somebody we worked with earlier on today, who had gone through some pretty serious health issues in the last few years, and what he said to me was, he going through those health issues have really made him think about what's important in his life. And what were the two things, do you reckon he said?
No.
And again, it's all different for everybody. But the two things for him were the importance of health. He wished he would have looked after himself better when he had the chance.
Having more time to prepare.
No, I mean, he's fine. I mean, he's fine, Rose. He's got years to go, hopefully. But I mean, he said that he wished he would have been more kind. He wished he would have tried to make an effort to. And the way that he put it was, he wished he was less status driven. So more worried about people and less worried about stuff was the way that he put it. More focus on health. That's the dog again. More focus on health, and the thing that matters the most is relationships.
Yeah.
Now, do you think, and again, interested in your insight on this, do you think that going through particularly health challenges gives you a really different perspective to what's important in life?
I think I spent a long time looking for that status. But in the early days of my illness, anyway, with a chip on my shoulder, blaming everybody else for what can't be controlled. And as I've grown older, I've been given opportunities. I've took more opportunities. They're scary opportunities, but I've took more opportunities that people have offered me, and I understand what he's saying. Having that opportunity to look at his life like that, like I have recently with work and stuff, does make you think back and think, why didn't you do it?
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting conversation because look, he's a guy in his sort of late 50s, early 60s, and we know that we're not going to change the past. But one of the things we did talk about is knowing what you know now, what decision would you make differently? So I'm really excited to share those insights to the next book. You can read that in about 18 months, probably. Charlotte, what do you think? Do you think illness changes perspective, and if so, how?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think I've got a personal sort of insight into this.
Yeah.
Sort of. But I definitely think like there's something about that sort of threat that sort of changes the way we think about things. I think
Yeah, I agree.
like I think it's the threat of, hey, there's something that might take me out any day. I think it's not as extreme as it is for some people, but I think during like the times of COVID when people were like falling, like when it was taking people's lives, I think there was, I don't know about you guys, but I was like worried like we were going to lose people from it.
Yeah, yeah, true.
So I think while like it's not like a massive, it's not sort of the full thing. I think people.
No, I knew I was going to be fine because Raz gave me a psychic reading and he said I was going to be all right. Is the only one that's come true.
I'm surprised you ain't still on a ventilator.
Right, let's move on. Onto the interview part of the Kindness Project. We have got part 2 of Emmanuel's interview. Now, Emmanuel was a bit of a legend, good guy, fellow financial planner, but doing some really amazing stuff in the world, which I love. In this part, Emmanuel shares a little bit about his background. We share some ideas about how we can do some good in the world. And if you are not inspired at the end of this interview, you are dead inside, right? He is a guy who is fantastically inspiring, I think, anyway. So let's listen to Emmanuel and get on with the show. Now, what I really wanted to do is talk to you about the amazing work you're doing with Step Now. So tell me a bit about that.
So Step Now is basically a charity organization that is designed to try and help young kids, especially from areas that we grew up in, to kind of seek their best version of themselves and potential and be role models in that community. And what they do is that they provide activities, especially in the summertime. So what happens a lot of the time in the summertime, you're not at school, you're at home, you're probably going to be out because your parents are still at work, you're going to be out, and a lot of the time this is where gangs can try and recruit you, can try and get you in, and so forth. And so what Step Now does is that they offer stuff throughout the year, but especially in the summer they offer camps throughout the summer to allow people from underprivileged backgrounds to come into a space, not have to be outside and come in and learn, get educated, look at their skills, ask questions, network, think about where they want to be, the things they want to achieve. They take them to spaces. So for example, they and I try and use my influence as much as possible. So I go in and teach them about finance and money and so forth from a young age, so that they're confident with that and have the conversations and careers and so forth. But also I use my connection. So for example, they wanted to understand about TV. So I have a good friend that works at Channel 4. So I got them to go down and spend the day down at Channel 4. And
see amazing. See the experience.
And know, oh wow. And the person and the person there, Jordan, he's a black guy that does the sport on Channel 4. And so they're seeing someone that looks like them. They're like, what? So I can be in this space. And there's that Nelson Mandela quote, it always seems impossible till it's done. And one of the things I find with youth is that for a lot of them, they think it's impossible. Their reality is that people that look like them are doing drugs, they're doing fraud, they're in gangs, they're doing this stuff. And
as soon as they meet somebody who's like them, it's like, well, actually, I can do that.
I can do that. I can do that.
How? I mean, it's really interesting. I had this conversation. I need to introduce you to somebody. Actually, we'll have a chat about it after the podcast. There's a lady who runs Inter Hamlets. She runs a community foundation called the East End Community Foundation. She's an amazing lady, Tracy Walsh, and she talks about the fact that like sort of people in Tower Hamlets are looking over to Canary Wharf and seeing what's going on there. When you were growing up, how disconnected did you feel having that, or was it actually aspirational? Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so basically, I always share this story. So when I was young, I was about 30, I was young, and in my house, if you left the light on in the kitchen, it was like a big problem. Like if you left the light on in the kitchen, my mum would go crazy, because when you don't have money, the light is an instant reminder that money is being spent or wasted. And so if I left the light on, like I'd love food, so go in the kitchen, get my food, and then walk out smiling because I got this plate of food, forget to switch off the light. And my mum would go crazy, like, who left the light in the kitchen?
Not
Shout
about
you
the
out.
food.
Forget about the food. Eat all you want. Just make sure you're off the light. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the big thing. And sometimes, my mum could be so angry, and I understand a lot of the time it's the frustrations in life and the things that they were going through. She could be so angry that she could even, give me a smack or whatever to tell me, look, you left this light on, we can't afford this, we're struggling, type thing. And I'd go to my room, like, and look out the window, and I'd see these buildings in Canary Wharf, like all the floors late at night, and all the lights are still on. And in my young mind, it would tell me that, wow, they must have money over there, because I can't leave one light bulb in the kitchen in my house on.
Yeah, interesting.
But these guys can leave all these lights on.
And
they
with
go
nobody there as well.
And nobody's there. And so then it told me that, okay, I must get over there. And so at 13, 14, I told myself, I've got to get over there, because there must be money over there, because they can leave the lights on.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Very, very interesting. So it was aspirational. So talk to me about the charity then, and what they do to help support and develop these young people to lead better lives.
Yeah, so what they do is they go out into the communities, they run events in the communities, and then what they do is they partner, pair them up, get them into groups, and then provide sessions for them. So if you want to do drama, they'll get drama and acting and get you in there and get you to do sessions on that. If you want to, but also they do self-development. So in regards to getting them to understand themselves and getting over barriers and dealing with the trauma, because a lot of the time when you go up in these environments, you see things that you shouldn't see. Like it robs your childhood. Do you know what I mean? You don't get and you have parents who are struggling and then looking to you to say, look, go and make some money. Like you can't, like, do you know what I mean?
I tell you what's interesting about that. Like my personal development.
Yeah.
In my childhood, nobody talked to me about thinking in different ways or looking at different perspectives. And I mean, it is one of my soapboxes, and I say this to Cass and the kids. Conventional education, number one, isn't taken into account technology, because clearly that's changing everything now. But it's also not taken, and there's a bit about when kids are younger where they're talking about growth mindset, which is great, because I think that's a good thing to do. But then you go into secondary school and it's like, right, you're doing English, maths and history, and that's it. Where's the element where you're talking about more practical skills, and even just how you see the perspective? I think looking at how we educate would be potentially useful. If you had a magic wand, man, what would you change in the education?
I think the biggest thing because I go into private schools, because a lot of the time private schools have the budget to afford to pay me to come in and give talks. And the thing is, it exists, as in how private education is. If we were all taught like that in normal schools, like it would be better. The questions that the kids are, the biggest thing for me, critical thinking. I think the problem with schools today is, I'm the teacher, like it's getting you prepared for work. The teacher is almost like your boss, and then you listen to your boss, you do what your boss says, and then your boss checks your stuff, and if they're happy, you're ready. And it just gets you basically ready for work. That's true.
They are that model is designed for an industrial age, and we don't live in an industrial age.
We don't live like that anymore. Yeah,
exactly.
So for me, the biggest thing is to get people to question. Don't just accept and that's what happens in private schools. When I go and give talks and I talk about money, the questions they ask are just phenomenal, because their minds have been opened to, actually, I don't have, not because you're my teacher, or not because they've got you in front of me, I must believe what you say. You must explain it, and you must make me understand it from my point of view. And also the fact that, we had a debate. One of the ones we had a debate about, should there be millionaires? Remember, these are kids in private school. Their parents are some of the richest people in the country, and they wanted to stop the lesson and have a debate on, should there be millionaires? And some agreed that there shouldn't, and some said they should. And it's like, actually, I love that. we don't. When I go and teach in normal, yes, we have a great time in normal schools, and it's great. But they haven't been opened up to think I can do more. I can be more.
Yeah, and I can challenge as well. Challenge these ideas. One of the really interesting debates we're having in my house at the minute is my youngest, who's just turned 11. Sophie, she's amazing. So whereas Charlotte's really academic and at uni and doing journalism, really like sort of that path really suited her. So Sophie's artistic and creative and but really she's a boss. She really challenges everything in terms of like her personality. And I said to Cass the other day, I love that. I mean, there might be some edges that
of course,
but I don't want her to lose that spirit of challenge.
Exactly.
And it's so interesting, isn't it?
It's so important because I feel like that's what I did. Like I challenged the norm everywhere I went. Like when I went into the city, it was, oh, you're a unicorn. Like I look at the city now and it's not. And I know for a fact that there are people, because of me being there and doing well and being successful, that said, oh, actually, let's try and find another Emmanuel. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, actually, sometimes you have to put yourself in these spaces and you have to go in and actually challenge the system and say, look, I'm just as good as everyone else.
Yeah, opening the door and then everybody else can come through, right?
And that's one of the biggest problems, I think, in the community that I really push is that, you know, actually, how many people are you helping come through? Sometimes we get in and it's like, oh, I'm happy just being the only one and I've done it. Actually, for me, it's about making sure that that's your legacy. I can look back, for example, at Barclays and know that I've helped over like 40 people get a job in Barclays. And they've gone on to do, some people are still there, some people have gone on to do other things. And actually, what are we doing like in our position? So one of the things I love about you and your you are here, you are successful, but you are still turning around and saying, it's not enough for me to have had a good life and my family to have a good life. Let me turn around and see who else can I help? Who else can I inspire? You are pushing stuff when it comes to technology that a lot of these dinosaurs are only just clocking onto now. And you're leading the way. And the best thing about it is that, you know, you're there for the inclusion. And sometimes I tell people like, I can do stuff, but when it's people like yourself who are known, respected, and look like others, let's be honest, like in our industry, there's not many ethnic minorities. So what we need is people like you to stand up and say, actually, we've got to get more women in here. Actually, we need more we need to do more technology and less paper-based. Actually, we need more diversity and inclusion. And when it comes from you, it's like, well, I know Chris, he's a good guy. Actually, let me listen, as opposed to me banging on the door.
But this is the interesting thing. You know, you're talking about that siloed thinking in some cultures, and you're trying to educate people to look at it different ways. I think that's a problem in the staid world of financial advice. You know, there's two. I mean, there are two, and the problem is I've got to be careful about this, right? Because I'm turning into one. There's too many old white blokes. I'm probably not there yet. I mean, 45. I'm doing all right, but the reality is you need that diversity of thinking to come into some of these sectors to make it better. And I suppose there is I don't know if it's just a human tendency for the status quo, but you know, in today's age, I just clearly don't think that can fly for much longer, can it?
No,
you know,
no, definitely not. But I think the hard part is the part that you're doing, and that's why I've always respect. Even though I only found you through social media and through LinkedIn. Basically, I started seeing your stuff, but I've always respected you because actually you're doing stuff that might have awkward conversations. Like, you've been in the industry, you might have people that maybe your friends, people that and you're pushing, oh, actually we need more women here, oh, actually we need more technology, actually we need more diversity, and you may have to have awkward conversations with peers in private, but I know you're doing that and it's making a difference. And I just want to thank you, because I know a lot of the time we do stuff and we don't get that thank you and we don't get that recognition, and you know, you might have people that maybe don't speak to you anymore, or you might not get invited to certain things, but you're doing that and making that stand to make everything better for other people.
The feeling is more than mutual, mate. I'm loving the work you're doing, and that's why I reached out and I want to sort of share it on the podcast. Now, one of the things I do want to do, because we want to use the Kindness Project as a platform to make sure we're sharing practical stuff that people can actually use. And as we're both fairly good with money, I'm still learning, but fairly good. Let's share some stuff that can help people. So what practical steps can people make to just get better with money and make better financial decisions, do you think?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, money is mental. The biggest thing is mental. So we see it all the time. We see people who, I always tell people, like, people tell me, oh, if I made £1 million, my life would be different. Mike Tyson made 400 and still went bankrupt. So it's not about the money. It's about the mindset. Yeah. And so the biggest thing is to understand, for me, is know your why. Why do you do what you do? Because the consumerism and the stuff that we see on the TV. Look, I mean, Christmas almost started in November. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's like it starts earlier and earlier each year, and the consumerism will continue. And so if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, you're always going to look at somebody else and say, oh, they've just got a new house, they've got a new car, but actually, is that on what's your journey? What's the journey you want for yourself? And I think when people get that makes a big difference. And then the second thing for me is understanding that you are already special, you are already unique, you are already valuable. I think one of the big things, especially from the communities we come from, is that there is a belief that the car that you drive or the clothes that you wear
represents who
you are, and that gives you validation. So you are important because you drive a Mercedes. That's one of the biggest or BMW. These were the two cars growing up. If you didn't have a Mercedes or a BMW, you weren't doing well. But actually, when you look at wealthy people, they don't even tend to drive these cars. They tend to drive Nissans and Fiats and just cars that make sense for what they're doing.
There's an amazing book. I read it got me 4 or 5 years ago now, called The Millionaire Next Door.
Yes, and
it's all about some research they did in America on people who have achieved financial independence, whatever that means for them. And when they did the research, they invited them along to this event because they wanted to interview them, and they put caviar out and champagne and all this sort of stuff. And they turned up and they said, "Well, where's the beers and the coffees, and where's the burgers? Because we're not interested in any of that stuff."
Yeah.
And I think that perception of wealth as material stuff is. So that was part 2 of our interview. We've got part 3 next week, Russ.
Next week we've got part 3.
Amazing. So tune in to that. Make sure you tune in. That is the end of another show. How should we end now? We haven't got question of the podcast. I feel a bit bereft.
I thought we agreed that Charlotte was going to bring back Joke of the Week.
I get to bring back Joke of the Week.
Are we really doing this?
Well,
right. I'll tell you what, we'll do it this way. I'll do the ending thing, and then I'll do the intro for you. So get your Joke of the Week ready, Charlotte.
Thank you.
Here's the end of another podcast, but the end is never really the end. No, hold on. You're doing Joke of the Week. I'm doing the ending bit. Let me do it again. Here's the end of another podcast, but the end, my friends, is never it. Why are you shaking your head?
Sacrilege. Do it again.
Right. I'm doing this as the last time, and it's going to be a good one. I'm eating a nut. Hold on. Let me stop. I can do it while I'm eating a nut. Right, ready? Tis the end of another podcast. But the end, my friends, is never really the end. Because now...
He doesn't do it the same. It's not the same.
You know what you need? You need one of them bells and one of them pointy hats.
Well, I'm not saying cry. I'm not saying cry. Right, one last go. You ready?
Okay.
Tis the end of another podcast, but the end is never at the end because we've got Charlotte's pretty awful Joke of the Week.
What's the difference between a hippo and a zippo?
One's a little lighter.
One's really heavy and one's a little lighter. You've ruined.
Oh, do another one then. Do another one.
It's good because I had like 4 preps. You're good. Why do ducks have feathers?
because they're always quacking.
to cover their butt quacks.
Maybe I need to get feathers for when I walk around late at night.
Right. And that, my friends, is the end of another.
I've got more if you want them.
No, definitely not. It's the end of another podcast. Have a lovely remainder of the week. Remember to be kind to other people and each other. Don't tell them bad jokes. You can take my amazing smeg pun if you want.
No.
That's yours. That's my act of kindness to you. Have a lovely remainder of the week, and we'll see you on the Kindness Project soon.
Bye.
Bye.